Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Packer. I'm so excited to start the semester with everybody and to take this course. My background is as an English and ESOL, so English to speakers of other languages, adjunct professor at community colleges in San Diego, currently based in Denver, and I am a strictly online educator at the moment. I got to be where I am because I took a TESOL, ESOL certification course over a decade ago after I was volunteering at Columbus Children's Hospital, where I was teaching English to patients and patients' families on a weekly basis. And I realized that I would love to explore this more. I ended up teaching in a few different countries abroad, but most notably China. I spent most of my time there. And when I returned to the States, I knew I wanted to get some more theoretical background because my experience was mostly just me winging it. And I found a master's program at USC where I met all of the professors who created this PhD in education for social justice program. So I ended up teaching in my master's program as well. I taught the practicum course. And I also have experience helping run an education nonprofit based out of Nepal, but that's a bit of a story for another time. Very problematic. Now I can see on a lot of different levels, but yeah, I applied to this program because I knew that I had reached a point in my career where I was missing this. I was missing a focus on inequity, social justice. I did not have the background in public education to truly understand the context in which I was teaching. And so this program was an absolute godsend. The more I learn, the more I know I don't know. So I'm so grateful for all of our professors and the content and my peers. So as a white, middle-class, monolingual English speaker in the United States, I grew up as a member of the dominant culture. My culture was and remains to be the status quo. The situations and contexts I grew up in never sought to challenge that. And more importantly, or slightly because of colorblind ideologies were very, very prevalent in the schools that I attended, within my communities, within my family. I don't think explicitly taught, but it was more implicitly implied that, discussing matters of race, matters of socioeconomic status, issues of religion, any sort of identifying factors that sought to divide was not something that was done, not something that was talked about. And so I never really challenged those assumptions until I was older and I was able to break out of the environments that I had grown up in and honestly just began learning about life. A major educational experience that I had was when I was living in China, and I was living in a very insular community outside of Xi'an, China, which is in mainland China. And I was one of, I would say, 4 Westerners living in the entire community. It was my first experience being the other. However, at that time, the geopolitical situation was such that when people asked if I was American, it was greeted with excitement. And, I was a white American. I was a white American English speaker with a quote unquote American accent. I say that because what is the American accent? And so I was very much accepted despite not understanding cultural norms, despite not understanding the language. And so my experience as other was still coming from a very much a sense of place of privilege. And when I came back to the States, I was able to see our country and the different cultures that I came back to in North Carolina and then moving to San Diego through new lenses, and I'm forever grateful for that experience. You know, they say to truly understand where you're from, you got to leave it, and that definitely rang true for me. When I was abroad, I saw English as a tool of globalization in a positive way. I saw this through rose-colored glasses as a means of connection and a way for us to share our culture with reciprocity. And I understand now, and I was able to see and experience this abroad and here in the States of, you know, this isn't a reciprocal relationship. You know, globalization is very much a Western culture encroaching on other cultures, and actually English serves as a tool of division between those who have access to education and those who do not, as well as a tool of erasure of identity, of language, of culture. And so knowing this has made me think very hard about my role as an ESOL educator in community colleges in the United States, where most of my students are international students, undocumented students, first-gen students, refugee students. And so what does this mean for me as an English professor, and how can I make sure that I am not upholding and reproducing very, very harmful powers of what Mosa calls empire, and how that's connected to race and class. And that's what I'm going to actually hopefully do my research on, is how ESOL educators in community colleges can be more equity literate, or to exhibit equity literacy at all, to be able to fight these very historic powers and weaponization of English. Yeah, but I digress. So when I think about globalization, and especially having watched that video from this unit about globalization related to economy, it makes me want to learn more and dive into economics and global economics. And especially, there was one part of it that said something along the lines of, you know, globalization has not just connected people, but it has in turn forced other countries and cultures to adapt the customs of Western countries. So actually, internally, domestically, there are some drastic changes being done through economy and government, and just standards and expectations. And so I think that I know I want to explore that even more, because that's what I saw in China. And China is actually a very interesting example because it is so insular. Like, the Chinese culture is very, very much, on the one hand, adverse to globalization culturally, however, very accepting of it economically and business-wise. So I'm just sitting in a place of reflection and openness and gratitude for this class. And I hope that I'm able to continue with an open mind and open heart, and learn from you all and Dr. Molina, Dr. Collinpour, because this is very much related to my self-growth, so selfishly, and also hopefully my research. So again, thank you all so much for being here, for me learning alongside of you, and looking forward to getting to know you all better. Thank you so much.